fuck was I gonna say? Welcome back, peoples, and if you're new, thanks for joining. We're gonna be having a discussion about multimeters. Specifically, why you need a multimeter, why it's important, all that. And that'll be that intro. So I've noticed a reoccurring trend with people that like to work in their garage, fix their cars, fix their bikes, DIYers in general. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about anybody, but a common trend is that no one really knows how to use a multimeter or finds it very important. So I want to go over a few situations that a multimeter has saved my bacon in a whole bunch of different ways. So first thing as to why having a multimeter is really important is because of dealer warranties. And I know that kind of sounds weird, but let's say your bike is under warranty, and actually I'm specifically talking about a situation that happened to me back when I was messing with Bike Tender's old bike. He used to have a Ninja 300. He was getting an issue where the bike would oftentimes not want to start up, and it would, I guess, die mid-ride, this and that. So he wanted to take the bike into the dealership. But if he took the bike into the dealership and there wasn't an issue, they would have charged him labor trying to track down the problem that wasn't there. I ended up finding the problem, and this is all with the multimeter. Every single thing I did with his bike that day was all with the multimeter. And if he had to pay out of pocket, the dealership would have charged him about $180. And if he had to pay for the parts and do it himself, he would have spent roughly about maybe $90, right around there, give or take. So because I was able to find the problem, I was able to verify that he seriously did have an issue, and that taking it in, he wouldn't get screwed over with dealer fees. The dealership contacted him, telling him that they found no issue with his charging system, and they were ready to charge him $180. He told me, and I told him to call them back and tell them to look again. And guess what happens? About, I don't know, maybe a day or so later, they come calling him back saying, oh, well, we found the problem. And I'm like, yeah, of course you did, because I told you that you had a problem. And that would have, just that time alone, I saved him a whole bunch of money just off of that. So a long time ago, when I had installed an HID kit on my bike, and if you don't know what an HID kit, it's basically amplified headlights. That's pretty much it. So I had it installed on my bike, and ever since I installed it, I had an issue with my high beam constantly flickering whenever it would idle for a good amount of time. So I ended up finding out what the problem was using the multimeter, and I was able to wire up a relay that completely took care of that issue. And ever since it's been installed, I've never had a single flickering issue ever since. With me being a mechanic, I get a lot of bikes in here. Actually, I have a client's bike right next to me. It's a 2008 CBR 600RR. But as far as I'm aware, this one doesn't have any electrical issues. But I get a lot of bikes in all the time. While working on these bikes, I've learned that there's faulty switches that can contribute to all kinds of problems. Anywhere from no starts to the HID doesn't come on, the headlight, the brake light, the relay goes bad, so this won't work, etc. And switches they're so simple. And if you have a multimeter, if you have like a basic knowledge of how to use a multimeter, solving something that can cost a lot of money in man hours to try and isolate the issue can easily be resolved with about 30 minutes and a cheap multimeter. You could have saved yourself all that time and money. and just done it yourself. Next, one of the most common issues I come across. I constantly get calls with people saying that their bike doesn't start and they think their starter might be bad, or they think a fuse was blown and they can't find it, and it's all contributed to something as simple as a dead battery. Dead batteries can easily be diagnosed with a multimeter. For one, you can tell what the voltage is, and two, you can also tell if the battery's starting to go bad by doing like a poor man's load test on it, by seeing where the voltage drop goes during cranking. And that can all be done with a cheap multimeter, really, to tell you exactly what's going on with the battery. And 9 times out of 10, when someone says they have a no start problem, it's the battery, and I can easily fix that issue. Even installing aftermarket parts that are as simple as, let's say, a basic alarm install or a light kit you want to add, maybe a USB port so you can charge your phone, stuff like that. They're really simple, and all you really need is a simple multimeter. There's so many things that a multimeter can do to help you and save you so much time and money, as long as you take just a little bit of time to learn how to use it. Multimeters can also be used for things you would never even think of. Like, for instance, if your coolant's bad, you can do a coolant acidity test trying to look for electrolysis, which is an incredibly easy test to do to tell if your coolant's going bad. Another situation is whenever you run across a fuse that totally looks fine, and I'm talking about like those cylinder fuses, and they have like a really thin metal thing going across it. Those, they may look fine, but you use a multimeter to test it, and it turns out that it's bad. I've ran into that, I think, 3 times so far. One or two of those times including Bike Tender, and I'll post the link to his channel in the description. But we've come across that a number of times, and using a multimeter, that's really the only way you're going to be able to tell if that fuse is bad, because you can't tell just by looking at it. Or let's say that your motorcycle is starting to overheat, or so it seems, and so you decide to change out the thermostat, and it still runs into the same issue. It keeps overheating. But the issue may not be the thermostat, it might be the temperature sensor telling the computer that the bike is running hotter than it really is, or colder than it really is. And that can throw off your fuel injection and everything, because fuel injection is very dependent on engine temperature. And that can all be taken care of and addressed, tested through a multimeter. I've had to do it once because I thought my bike was overheating, so I decided to take the thermostat out, test that. You can't test that with a multimeter, but I also tested the temperature sensor at the same time using the multimeter, and it actually checked out. It was all good to go. So I was able to isolate my problem at that point, and all thanks to the multimeter, using the multimeter for a simple test. I apologize for all my rambling. I just want to really stress that a multimeter is such a versatile, helpful tool in complicated and simple troubleshooting to try and save you loads of money. So that way, if you ever run into an issue and it's electrical, you don't automatically have to give me a call, and you can knock it out yourself. Alright, that wraps up this video. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Go ahead and put something down in the comments, let me know how I'm doing, and if you haven't subscribed, I really hope you do, and maybe you can become a boss like everyone else. Thanks for watching the videos, I'll see you guys later.